Hey there riders, Moto Journo Kris here, and huge news out of Triumph for those who love mid-capacity machines, with a baby Tiger Sport to join the lineup for 2022, due here in Australia in Q1, and pricing now set at 14,690 Australian dollars right away, with an additional $150 to add if you want the metallic paint options, or about 2,000 more than the current pricing of that Trident 660. And I haven't seen pricing or availability for the UK and the USA yet. That's right, the 660 power plant we first saw in the Trident is making the natural evolution into other models now, which means a seriously slick sports touring machine, although this looks to be a fairly road orientated offering if you are hoping for something to compete with the T7 in that adventure segment. Triumph are calling this an adventure sport though, but I guess it comes down to what you're expecting. The existing Tiger Sport models in both the 850 and 1050 variants are fairly road orientated compared to say the Tiger 900 Rally and the 1200 XC variants. The Tiger Sport 660 actually looks like it's designed to go toe-to-toe with something like Yamaha's Tracer 700 or options like the Versys 650 or perhaps the V-Strom 650, which especially with the Versys and V-Strom is an extremely competitive segment out of the market, which while not offering crazy performance very much represents exceptional value and an impressive all-round machine, with the Versys 650 12,200 right away for comparison. Triumph's focus here actually seems to be to trump the competition, boasting class-leading power with 81 horsepower right up at 10,250 RPM and 64 Newton meters of torque at a more accessible 6,250 RPM. That's about 10 more horsepower than the Versys and 5 more than the Tracer for comparison. That 660 triple is a beautiful engine too, so I'm interested to see how this implementation feels. For those of us in Australia, the Tiger Sport 660 will only be available in a LAMS approved version. With an A2 version available in Europe, it would appear we're getting the same bike here in Australia, producing 48 horsepower, or 35 kilowatts exactly, alongside the 59 Newton meters of torque, while the existing Trident 660 in comparison boasts 54 horsepower and almost 40 kilowatts in comparison. That's probably because our LAMS restrictions are based on the power to weight figure rather than an arbitrary figure, which could potentially have meant the Tiger Sport 660 actually boasted a little bit more power again than the Trident, being a little bit heavier. That's probably going to annoy some Australian fully licensed riders too, who find the concept intriguing but would only seriously consider one if they could get the full power version. Personally, when I test rode the Trident, I thought it had a good amount of performance, but I can see your point if you feel that way. I reckon around 50 horsepower is that sweet spot where there's enough performance if you're not super sportily inclined, so I'd be willing to do the LAMS if I were in the market. I'd prefer to be finding the limits of my bike than only ever exploring about 50% of them at the end of the day, but if you're riding 2 up regularly, there's no doubt the extra power would be welcome. Throttle control is naturally ride-by-wire, with the EMS providing road and rain modes with specific throttle response and traction control settings in each, alongside ABS, while that traction control can be turned off via the dash. That dash is a TFT unit, but interestingly it's a bit of a traditional style, running 2 display areas, the top with tacho and speed plus fuel gauge, while the lower screen in the picture provided shows gear indicator and a clock. Apparently the My Triumph connectivity system is an accessory however, which enables turn-by-turn nav, GoPro control and phone and music interaction, controlled via the switchgear. If that means keeping the price super competitive, I wouldn't be complaining about that decision, but then I don't put much value in those features anyway. There's a 6-speed gearbox too, while we're treated to a slip and assist clutch for a lighter lever pull and of course helping prevent compression lock when aggressively downshifting, which with peak power up at 10,000 RPM may encourage holding those gears longer. On the chassis, we're getting a tubular steel perimeter frame with regular twin-sided steel swing arm, and it looks like the frame has been beefed up a bit, particularly when it comes to the rear of the bike, where it's far more likely to support the weight of a pillion, plus possibly a full luggage loadout. Showa provide the suspension setup with a set of 41mm upside down separate function cartridge forks, and there's 150mm of travel, which suggests perhaps a little more plushness tuned in comparison to the Trident, which at least for me at 70 or so kilograms had a nice sporty and taut edge to it, while still retaining comfort. There's no adjustability on those forks either, which again points back to a value-driven offering, with the Showa monoshock also offering 150mm of travel, but does include a remote preload adjuster, which is a nice feature on this type of bike. That ensures it'll be easy to adjust for luggage or a pillion with minimal effort and no tools. Brakes are from Nissan and the same setup as we saw on the Trident, namely dual 310mm front rotors and 2-piston calipers, while there's a single 255mm rear rotor, and Nissan's single piston sliding caliper. As already mentioned, both are backed by ABS. Reinforcing the sportier aspirations, rather than really being a heavily off-road adventure orientated machine, are those cast aluminium 17-inch rims with a 3.5-inch front and a 5.5-inch rear, which will run a very standard tyre sizing in a 120/70 front and 180/55 rear, and Michelin Road 5 tyres are the stock tyre choice, making for a good set of hoops to get started on. Other features include a 17.2 litre fuel tank, with Triumph claiming 4.5 litres per 100 kilometres, meaning 300 k's or so between fill-ups. Should be easy, which is a nice range. Naturally, the Tiger Sport 660 is Euro 5 compliant too, with the underbelly exhaust tucked away, but not the sightliest of systems, which just seems to be the price you pay these days. The seat height is also 835mm, although Triumph note that the bike is very narrow at the pegs, which should help riders get a foot down more easily, with a very sculpted look to the seat at the tank, which expands to a wider perch towards the back of the seat. That pillion area also looks reasonable, but the tail is kept minimalistic and again quite sporty looking, while incorporating the mounting points for panniers. While the Tiger Sport 660 runs a taller seat height than the Trident, it still looks as though that peg to seat ratio will be more active with weight through the pegs, while wide bars on risers will ensure an upright and commanding view down the road. That's definitely a sportier ergonomic on the touring side of things, which should lend itself to having fun through the twisties alongside longer distance travel. Overall weight is 206 kilos, so 17 kilos heavier than the Trident 660, which isn't bad all things considered, as there's some nice features included, like the adjustable screen, span adjustable brake lever, dual LED headlight, with all lighting LED in fact, mirrors are teardrop units, the tail tidy is fairly minimalistic too in the pictures provided, and there's a grab rail on the back. Even the indicators are self-cancelling. That front guard is again a fairly road-orientated feature, and there's a side stand, but I didn't see a centre stand mentioned, and I can't see it being possible to fit one easily. The Tiger 660 Sport will come in 3 colour options: Corrosive Red, Lucerne Blue or Graphite, with the blue standing out for the colour-matched radiator shrouds. Bodywork is angular, sporty, and stands out nicely, ticking all the boxes in my mind. Triumph also mentioned 10,000 mile or 16,000 kilometre service intervals, although that also defaults to 12 months for those not doing much in the way of travel, and reckon the bike requires the lowest level of workshop time in the category, saving in servicing costs. The two figures they give us is 30% more cost effective on labour costs and 17% cheaper for maintenance parts. Less time in the workshop is definitely a good thing too, with hourly rates here in Australia often approaching 200 Australian dollars an hour. Naturally, you're getting a 2-year warranty too, and from the images, finish quality looks typical of Triumph's high standard. There'll also apparently be a host of accessories ready, with a top box capable of holding 2 helmets, plus integrated panniers which can be colour matched to the bike. Frame, engine and fork protectors are also available to reduce or prevent damage, alongside an alarm and tracker in some markets. A quick shift is also available and does up and down, as well as heated grips, an under-seat USB charger, scrolling indicators and a TPMS, to name a few. But it looks like all the regular touring accessories are more than covered. As mentioned, we're expecting the Triumph Tiger Sport 660 here in Australia in Q1 of 2022, and pricing isn't yet announced, although hopefully we'll be finding out in the coming days, as it'll be interesting to see where the bike lands in comparison to the existing competition. It'll also be interesting to see how it fares in Australia. The Yamaha Tracer 700 was a great machine, and like the Tiger 660 will be, was lambs, but I think the more premium price was a stumbling point despite being such a great all-rounder, especially for a machine considered a beginner machine due to being restricted. The new Tiger Sport 660 has some advantages in including riding modes and traction control, while machines like the Versys 650 and V-Strom 650 are very successful, so only time will tell. Anyway, let me know what you think of the newest motorcycle arriving in the Triumph stable. What do you think, Sport Tourer or Adventure Sport? Would you be interested, and if you were, what would you add to the bike? As always, thanks for watching and stay safe out there.